Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today checking out a new piece of hardware. I've got this from Donna, they sent this over for me to check out. This is the L1 Essential, or Essential L1. So this is essentially a clone of Roland's legendary SH101 synthesizer. It sounds pretty authentic, it's pretty great for a clone, but Donna have done some pretty interesting stuff in terms of the design here. Not only does it split in half, which is kind of novel, Donna have made a couple of pretty cool decisions here in terms of some extra functionality that was not available on the SH101. What I want to do in this video is kind of take a first look at this and just run through the operation of how everything works here. So this would be a good crash course for anybody that's not familiar with an SH101, but also just to show off what it sounds like and some of the new features and how everything works. So let's pop this on the table, get it plugged in, and have a go. Right, okay, let's dive in and take a look. I'm going to run through all the basics here. So if you're familiar with an SH101, you may know all of this, but if you don't know the synth, it's not particularly hard to get to grips with. Pretty simple synthesizer, this. But they've added some new features, so I'll take a look at some of the stuff that you can do with the new features and just how everything works, where everything is. Obviously, the design is a bit different to the SH101. This snaps off, obviously. That's your magnetic keyboard. It's actually pretty well designed, this. I quite like the action of the keys. The magnet's not 100% foolproof, but I think for desktop operation like this, it's really great. And it's just a nice design. I think it's really clever, the whole package that they've put it like this. Gives you a lot of options for, you know, dragging things around. You can also take this as a synth, but you can then use this as a keyboard because you do have the USB and pedal and MIDI output there, so this could be your sort of main keyboard used while traveling, and this has some flexibility as well in terms of integrating into setups. You've got MIDI out. You can even use this as a sequencer using the CV outs over here. It's basic implementation. You've got a sync output as well as some gate and CV or pitch CV, which we'll take a look at in a bit. But it's useful nonetheless to be able to drive some small modular setup with that too. Right, so let's dive into the operation first. I think this keyboard may be used down the line, the same design to drive some other synths that they have. This is kind of separate from that. However, a lot of the controls here do show up in here as well. You've got some basic sort of keyboard function you can hold for the ARPs, which mirrors over there as well, you can see. Using the shift functionality, you have some options like octave, semitones up and down. Octave will be the normal functionality there, and then semitones up and down. Using the shift as well, you can also set the channel number there. You've actually got control over the curves. If you look over here, we're actually changing the keyboard response curve right now. We'll leave it to linear. This has velocity sensitivity, which I'll show you in a sec, that the SH101 did not have, and it's quite nice to have that available here. It's not directly accessible from the front panel, but we'll look at that in just a sec. So enough to think about the keyboard. Let's move straight into the synth. I've got everything kind of zeroed here so that you can see what we're doing from the ground up. Right, so glide controls down here. On auto, that's going to be your legato mode. Essentially, you've got one modulator, which is an LFO. New to this is the ability to set this to audio rate, which is going to bump up the speed quite dramatically on that, which can put you almost in sort of FM territory. It doesn't track with a keyboard, as far as I know, but it still gives you some really nice sort of metallic tones, which you can get on the original, at least not that fast on this. If you use the shift over here, you can actually sync that to whatever's coming in as well. You can sync this to the BPM that we have here too. There are some additional settings that you can access from the menus here, which I'll show you now. VCO. So essentially the SH101 is a single VCO, but you have multiple different waveforms. The sub oscillator has selectable waveforms, but they essentially all track one pitch. You can't pitch them individually up from one another. They all track one single pitch, and then you have the range for the sub. You can assign some pitch mod options here, PWM. So bring up our pulse wave here. You can adjust that manually, or you can modulate that via the envelope or the LFO. And you'll see here, if I turn the sync up, or the audio rate, you'll get much faster. much faster modulation on the PWM mode. There we go. Let's bring up the sub 2. So this is the 2 octave down pulse. You've got a square and 1 octave down square as well. Let's bring our back to manual. Right, saw wave. And notice these all just piling up on each other. Then this is new to this synth. The SH101 doesn't have a triangle wave, and it's quite a useful one to have. It opens up quite a few different options for you as well. You've then got an external input that can be accessed via the back here as well. We'll take a look at that in a bit. And then the noise is a bit soft. It's also not very bright. I know some people have compared it to the original SH101. I'm not doing that here. Trust me, it sounds like an SH101. I've used one enough, but this is different, and it just feels not very useful that in terms of sound design with this. At that level, I would prefer if you can get a little bit more volume out of that. But that does come in handy when you utilize the noise to modulate stuff. I'll show you some of that in just a sec. Right, so filter, cutoff resonance, it self-oscillates as well. You can key track this. Essentially get a sine wave out of that. Envelope 1. Now this is also different to the original. The original SH101 only has one envelope. I really like this as an option on this. Same goes for the Juno. Never really a fan of being limited to only gate modes when you wanted to do something plucked like this. That's the volume envelope now, which is currently assigned to the VCA. Right, these have a couple of options as well. If you do want the traditional SH101 behavior, you can switch this over to gate mode. There's no release on that now. You can still get the release on the filter. There's also a cycle mode here. The cycle mode takes its retrigger from the LFO. So if we do that, slow that one down a little bit. Cool. The cycle mode also applies to both of these as well. So you can essentially cycle both the VCA and the VCF at the same time, or the envelope for the VCF. Right. Also the drone mode. That's essentially just going to hold the VCA open constantly. It will re-trigger the envelope for the filter. We come back up to the 2 envelope operation. Now there's also a bunch of settings that you can come into here and to change for the envelopes. You have this LFO envelope merge, which will kind of combine the 2 of them together. You also have options for the re-triggering. Now this is also where you'd access the behavior for the velocity sensitivity. It is currently on right now. Take a listen to, play nice and softly here. And again, we can adjust the filter or the curves. So it does give you a bit of range. And it's pretty easy to play around with those. It's not the most expressive, but it's a range that you don't have on the original, and I really like it here. These can easily be disabled in the menu system. You can just turn that off if you want to go back to the original behavior and not have those on. You can also turn them on and off individually for each envelope. You can also re-trigger the LFO here. If you turn that on, you'll see every time we start, it's gonna, let's turn this on to one of the different waveforms here and maybe do... That's true, re-triggering it now. You can also turn that off and have this running free. So it's restarting that every single time you hit the key. Okay, cool. So that pretty much covers most of the sound design stuff here. I'll show you a couple of tricks that you can do with this now as well. In terms of designing some sounds, we'll make some sounds as well. Let's quickly take a look at the sequencer as well. It's pretty simple to use. Let's maybe build a sound first here. Let's do something quite unique to this. Let's use a triangle wave, and because we've got two oscillators now, we can get some, two envelopes I should say, sorry. We can get some, open up our filter entirely. Get some nice percussive sounds with this using the pitch mod. So let's turn that up. And sorry, we want a pitch mod from the envelope. Now that is assigned only to envelope 1 now. And we also have the velocity enabled. There we go. Let's take a listen to what this sounds like with a little bit of effects on. I've just enabled some for us. Like I said, you can get some pretty nice sounds with the triangle wave. You can get quite aggressive with this as well. If you use the pitch mod here, and let's say, send this into sort of FM territory. Or it could also use something like the noise, which gives you this really nice grunginess. There we go. It's almost like a distortion, that. All right. Let's take a look down at the sequencer now. You've got two different modes that you could run this in here. Actually, third mode of here as well, if you count the keyboard mode. That is for when you don't have this connected. You can switch this to keyboard, and it actually allows you to play notes from the sequencer pads that you have here. To record a sequence is pretty simple. You also have some menu options here for loading sequences. The shift functionality will allow you to reset something, for example, to delete the current sequences that you have. You also have 4 different slots that you could load up at the same time, and then each one is a 64-step sequence, so you have 4 banks or 4 pages of pads like this. To input a sequence, all you want to do is enable record. You have rest, tie that you can use as well, and let's just there. Tie 1. And just see what happens with that. There you go. Now you have a sequence. One thing I haven't been able to figure out with this yet, which is kind of disappointing, is there doesn't seem to be an easy way to transpose sequences up and down, despite having transposition controls here. You have some over here as well, but I have not been able to figure out how to access anything to maybe turn that up and down. I'm not sure if you can at this point. So right now I'm kind of stuck with the sequence as it is. You can't input any notes once it's busy playing. One thing that is kind of thoughtful here is when you switch the mode buttons over, if the sequence is running, it flashes first as a confirmation so you don't accidentally switch over from a sequence during a performance. Now it'll let you switch over to the Arpeggiator. And just come back to the sequence first quickly here. Let's play that back. And let's just show you the different banks that you have as well. We can record a second sequence here as well. Hit record. I'm going to ask you to choose a save slot there as well. That. And you can jump back to our original sequence there. And it's not instant, it does wait for it to get to a point where you can switch the end of the sequence. Cool. Now we can also put that into Arpeggiator mode here. Pretty straightforward, but you do have some additional functionality down at the bottom here as well. We can choose down, down, up, down, up, and random. We've also got the octave range that you can select there as well. So let's go with a 3 octave or 2 octave. We'll go with, let's go with up and down. We can also enable the hold there or over here. And let's play around with this for a little bit. Awesome, there we go. One thing I have neglected to look at here is just the tempo control. That one has some shift functionality on it as well. So we come back up to the sequence here and play. We can add a bit of swing. Right, so there we go. I hope you enjoyed this first look at the Donner Essentials L1. I gotta say, I do enjoy this so far. I think it's a pretty nice little package. It sounds legit. I mean, there are other SH101 clones out there, like the stuff from Behringer, but I really like what Donner's done with this. I don't think that you need to just clone everything one for one. I like it when developers, especially with software as well, rather than just clone something, they do something a little bit different. You know, something like Diva, for example, where he's really gone and taken, you know, gone the extra mile with it. I think that some of the decisions that Don have made here are pretty good in terms of, you know, stuff like adding the extra envelope and so forth. So I look forward to seeing what they do with this. Yeah, it would be nice to see a few little firmware updates for some minor things here and there. I'd really like to be able to transpose the sequences a little bit better. Maybe that's something that can be worked out later on down the line. I've also done for those of you who do still read, you can go check out our review at KVR. I wrote some words there for them covering this as a review. I want to kind of take a deeper look at designing some sounds around this. So we'll come back with another video soon. We will just kind of build a whole bunch of sounds and see what it can do in terms of its sonic range. Cool, so if anybody wants to check out the Donna L1, I'll leave a link in the description. Apart from that, if you want to sign up for our Patreon, you can go check that out as well. And of course, do hit that like and subscribe button if you don't mind. I will catch you guys again soon. Till then, take care. Cheers.